On July 17th, 2021, I spoke with Elisa Thorn. Since graduating from UBC School of Music in 2011, Elisa Thorn has become a much sought-after addition to the Canadian creative music scene, known for her skilled use of extended techniques, electronic effects, and unconventional uses of her harp. Her music, which combines influences of post-rock, jazz, classical, and indie, is propelled by two artistic objectives. Firstly, how to create music that is both abstract and accessible, and secondly, how to lead a band with a harp in a way that does not compromise sensitivity with its boldness or aesthetic beauty, which is curiosity. Interested in the intersection between composed and improvised music, she's involved with many projects, including Hue, The Giving Shapes, The Gentle Party, and Years in Between. Elisa Thorn will be performing in person at the Cameron Bandshell in Beacon Hill Park for Wonderment 2021 on Friday, July 30th at 7 p.m.
I am a cool person. I'm just kidding. I mean, I think I am. My name is Elisa Thorn. I'm a harpist, composer, sometimes singer in Vancouver. I'm super excited to be coming to Victoria soon to play at the Wonderment Festival. I can't believe it. IRL Festival. A little bit scary, but also so great to be back doing that.
All right. So because it's such a, let's say, very visual and very dramatic and very, kind of magical instrument, the harp really does precede someone. But then to be a person to choose a harp, to be an extension of yourself and, make that connection and have that as a part of your voice, how did that happen? How did that develop? What was the thing?
I think at first it definitely had a lot to do with the harp's good looks. When I was like 5, I went to a Lorena McKennitt concert with my dad. I don't know if you know who that is, but she was like the Celtic Enya of the 90s.
Totally.
And she played the harp. So he took me to a concert of hers. I don't think I actually saw the concert because I was tired because it was past my bedtime. I saw the harp on the stage before I fell asleep. And I was like, damn, that's a good looking lady. I want that. So that's like where the idea got planted in my mind. And then at around that time also, I was watching lots of Marx Brothers, which was like
Harpo.
Yeah, exactly, Harpo. A fantastic harpist, like actually. So I kept seeing that good looking lady, the harp. I was like, damn, bitches everywhere. Can I swear? And then I saw another harpist in real life at a music shop, also with my dad. I don't know what we were doing there, probably like, I don't know, whatever, buying CDs or something.
As you do at a music shop.
Yes, yeah. And she is funny. She's like, so that was Kim Robertson, who's kind of a harp star, or has been a harp star since the 90s. Also in the Celtic world, who I think like my dad just had a big crush on. So probably that's why we were at the music store actually. Yeah. But she let me touch the harp. So yeah, it's just a thing that I wanted to do. I was quite enthralled by it. So I took, my parents made me take piano lessons first for a few years, which is a good idea for any parents thinking about make their kids playing the harp. Take piano lessons first, maybe. And I still wanted to do it. So after a few years, they said, okay. And then, like, I wasn't actually a kid. As much as I started taking music lessons when I was very young, I didn't really take it seriously for a long time. Like I didn't practice. I wasn't like a child prodigy kid or anything. I just, whatever. I liked music though, obviously. and like being able to be expressive on music I do remember that. I really didn't like practicing, but I liked having feelings with musical instruments. Yeah, so I don't know, I didn't quit and I kept doing it for my whole life. And then I ended up in university going to UBC for music. When you play the harp, you kind of get funneled into classical style of education and like job career stuff, but that I discovered in university is severely incompatible with my personality. So I had a hard time in school, as many people do, I think, in school, art school. Yeah, there was a lot of hard times with me in the harp for sure, where it's like, what am I doing? And I graduated and realized like I didn't have any of the skills that I wanted to make music that I wanted to make. Not that I knew what kind of music I wanted to make at that point. Probably I just knew what kind of music I didn't want to make. But I don't know. I was lucky to, since that time, just kind of have a lifestyle that afforded me freedom to explore, and in the music community here also has been very generous with supporting exploring, and kind of I feel like in the last couple of years I've kind of found some things that I like.
I've noticed a wonderful diversity with your work, and when exploring your different projects, I had a feeling that there was definitely the classical training element, but then there's more of the personal aspects that you are, taking the harp to lengths and to places that are more where your heart. I'm not saying that, traditional training and classical training is, to be frowned on, but I can feel, and that you're not putting yourself in it. It's just, there's something that's deeply you that's going on with the other projects. And when I say that, the first one that comes to my mind, I'm kind of jumping around here though, is of course the Years in Between project. When I entered even like that digital space online, and listening to it, I was like, whoa, okay, I've entered a different space, and I'm really feeling that with what you've been describing. I don't want to twirl around too much, but there's a couple thoughts that came to mind when we were chatting and that I enjoyed. First thing I'll just mention quick, my introduction to harp as a youth as well was through Sylvia Woods. And so, yeah, she's adorable, and that's what I was learning on when I was very young with like Celtic harp. And so I've always admired folks that have taken their harp properly to like great lengths and really, experimented and really found their voice with it. But when you mentioned piano, that's the other thing I noticed with your sound is there's a lot of percussive tendencies. I feel there's a percussive element that you bring out with the harp, and perhaps that goes without saying because you're plucking. There's that opportunity to create percussion, but maybe in, generic sense, percussion and harp aren't the first two things that come to mind because you're dealing with strings. But I just thought those were really cool elements, your personalization and your bending of the harp and really expressing the harp and the percussion. So I love that. I love that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that element of the harp is actually quite challenging, I find, the percussive quality, because as much as you said, it doesn't really wear that as like how we see it. That's what it is. I can't sustain notes, which is crazy. There's not a lot of instruments like that.
Yeah.
I mean, and so that's kind of where I started experimenting with electronics, was actually because I wanted to be able to sustain notes, I think, and also that's why I started singing too.
Oh, because there's definitely a drone element that I get, a drone and a meditative hum that comes along with it that really is beautifully intermingled with the percussive aspects that you can't normally, or you don't normally associate with harp. I guess it makes sense because like really the piano is a stringed instrument and it is a percussive instrument. So, okay, I got to fly into this and I'm sure you'll be able to take this one far in your own direction. What is your creative process, especially when it comes to, taking, moving from this traditional format and then saying, okay, but this is what I really would like to work on with it?
Yeah, I don't know if it always looks the same, but I mean, it kind of does sometimes. Like I write usually starting on the piano, even
Cool.
though I'm not like a pianist, but I know how piano works, I find it's easier to navigate harmonically, which I like. Yeah, most of my music is coming from a harmonic perspective.
Cool.
Yeah, like coming up with ideas, like seeds, I find very easy. And I like to sit with them for a long time. So I'll just play them over and over again forever until like I see the path. It's funny, I'm jumping around now, but I actually started like thinking about composing differently after completing the Years in Between project, which I will explain later. My process with that was actually way different than normal.
Oh, cool.
But my that project conceptually and personally was all about the idea of traveling backwards, or how I believe that all of the versions of yourself exist in any given moment. So it was a lot about
Nice.
learning how to access past me's
Yeah.
as a mode of healing.
Yeah.
So what I started thinking about after, I feel like after that project and after I got good at doing that, I started being very curious about what it's like to access future me. Um, and so I've been thinking about that a lot in the past year, and something that I do really feel is that the act of creating is accessing your future self. Like so many musicians I've talked to agree, like it doesn't, after you finish a song, it doesn't feel like you wrote it. Like it arrived or you found it is often the sensation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of believe that like that is an access of the future, like of your future self.
I
Arriving.
really like that you're thinking of it being the future self, because
Mhm.
I've thought of it as being something that was like in the past that you can't re-access. By thinking of it being the future, that means you'll be able to, you know what I mean, reach it again. But I just, I'm loving that. I'm sorry. I wanted to, oh my God, yes.
Yeah, but the process with Years in Between was actually very different. Because I had such an intention personally, like I wanted to explore that idea that was very prevalent just like in my life, musically, and I only had a month to write it because I was going to Toronto to perform at a festival called Women from Space, and it was solo, which I didn't really have a working solo project at the time, so I had to make something. So I wrote that all on the harp, also not the harp I usually play, on my little electric harp, because that's what I would be traveling with. So there was a lot of limitations, I guess, or containers I had to fit it into. But very clearly like knew what I was trying to say, or maybe that's not true, but I knew what I was trying to heal for myself. So that process just looked a lot like me. I mean, that I think a large part of that unspoken or process that doesn't make it into that month-long period was like a year of really nice therapy. Then I was ready to just sit in a room for many hours a day and like explore those ideas sonically, I guess. So it was fun, kind of collage, because a piece is also, it's not like a song, like, it's like I describe it as like a sound object. Like it is very collagey. It's a 30-minute thing that just moves through different spaces. So it's not a thing that can really be broken up, or like it exists as a unit.
I really like that term sound object because sometimes, you know, I think I really hear the term sound collage a lot. And it's effective. That's a really great way to describe a lot of sound creations that people have. But a sound object, that I think really takes it further. It really takes that explanation, that sort of description even deeper. I love that a lot. Man, yeah, I'm so stoked on all this. I'm sorry if I'm interrupting, so please just tell me why. I'm a bit of a talker sometimes. But when you were mentioning the limitations, I was wondering if you found in this particular circumstance, perhaps, were the limitations almost a benefit in a sense?
I think so. I mean, that's a tool artists use all the time, like create a container. Otherwise, it can feel very much like you're looking into a black hole.
Too many things to pick from.
Yeah. I mean, I'm having a really hard time with that right now with what I'm currently doing, like trying to write music-based stuff of some poetry. It's this big grant project. I'm like, I can't even decide what instruments it's for. Like, it's been months of me just being like, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe.
And then if you're a person that works great under pressure, sometimes there's that tendency to leave it go a little bit too long, and then suddenly the idea comes right at like the last moment. Ah! Oh, that's really cool though. Oh my gosh. I really love that, and I love that you sit on your seeds of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you sound like a poet.
Thanks.
100%. You sound like a poet. As I've mentioned before, I think there's a lot more that I would love to talk about with you, but due to time, unfortunately, there's only so much that I can cover, and I'm just so pleased with how rich, you know, it is that we've talked about so far. But to bring Wonderment back into the conversation, because you have such wonderful diversity of projects, is there a particular sort of essence that you're going to be going with in regards to what can be seen at Wonderment on Friday? On Friday, the 30th of July.
Yeah, well, I'll be playing solo with the project I've just been talking about, Years in Between.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so I mean, that is, I kind of just described it as a meditative space that has, yeah, it's supposed to be an offering of meditation for one to perhaps consider what I was saying conceptually about like what it would look like or what it would mean or how you could use the idea of accessing yourself throughout time.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I'm so excited to be able to. I love all your projects. I think they're really cool. And Hugh is another really amazing project. But all of your ones, your collaborative ones, your solo, all of these are exciting. But as I mentioned, I got really sucked right into Years in Between when I was, you know, checking out your web presence. And so I'm really excited to be focusing on that. And when you were talking about the different people over time, I'm just thinking about the philosophical concept that we're never the same person. We're constantly different versions of ourselves over time. You can even say, you know, if you want to be pragmatic, I don't look the same way as I did when I was 13. So I'm not the same person, you know, different values, different thoughts. And so it only makes sense that that would continue as we project ourselves into the future. When you say meditations, would you say that they are meditations with a particular sort of goal for people, that being finding your future self, or are they meditations that are, you know, meant to sort of inspire whatever the sonic experience is in people?
I think both. Like, you know, I don't want to dictate the experience people have listening to music, because I think it's different things for, you know, you could listen to the same thing and it might offer you something differently depending on what you need at different times. So I do, in presenting that project, I like to tell people about where I'm coming from, if that is something that like sparks something, you know, in their mind or their body or their heart while they're listening. but even if it doesn't while they're listening, like I think it's a cool idea to consider in your life. So maybe they'll think about it later. But also, like, music, I think the collective experience of listening to live music is super important way of processing feelings together, and it's not like we're processing the same feelings together, but people in the room processing their own feelings together, but like making that a collective effort is what I want, I guess. So that's what I want. And I hope that it provides people some space to feel vulnerable in some way, I guess. That sounds kind of like scary, but I mean that in a like generous way.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people have been exploring vulnerability, especially over the pandemic. They've been, working on that. I think that's beautiful. I'm going to ask is if you want to share any final thoughts, any other things that perhaps I didn't hit, which is always an awkward question.
I want everybody to read the book All About Love by Bell Hooks. Sidebar, just read it. Especially if you're a cis man, please read that book. I have an IG handle, Elisa Thorn. I don't really use Facebook or Twitter or what are kids using? TikTok. I don't know. I'm an old person now, so I wear tight pants, and I'm just kidding. I don't. And I only.
Yeah, you're not alone in the tight pants department. Hard sell for me when that popped up. Just saying. And being a person who just shaved my head a couple months back, it's like, well, it doesn't apply anyway. Just go with that entire conversation.
Right. So officially old.
Oh my God, I don't think that's what it means. It just means having your own personal style, right? Yeah, no, I feel you on TikTok. Okay, well, that's perfect to tag you on Instagram and all these other things. Yeah, of course, you will be playing on Friday, July 30th at Beacon Hill Park in the Beacon Hill Park Bandshell, which is very cool. Awesome stereophonics in that environment. And who doesn't like to be in a park while listening to sonic meditations, right? Yeah. Little thoughts of your future self combined with your present and past.
IRL, it's going to be cool.
Right? Wild. Oh my God, it's been wonderful talking to you. You've been fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you, Elisa, for chatting with me. It was an utter delight to hear your creative process and perspectives. Catch Elisa this Friday, July 30th at 7 p.m. for Wonderment at the Cameron Bandshell in Beacon Hill Park.